Mike Holmgren is on the phone right now, Super Bowl winning champion, head coach. And with him on the phone line right now, Mike Del Tufo, replay the John Madden, Pat Summerall broadcast that was on Fox back in 1992. 92, mind you, between future Hall of Fame head coach Joe Gibbs, matching wits with eventual Hall of Fame head coach Joe Gibbs, and potential future Hall of Fame head coach Jimmy Johnson. And the video is they show on the sidelines two assistants of the Redskins and a backup quarterback signaling in, all three of them sending signals at the same time, something onto the field.
17-10, Cowboys leading. Collins, Gobert, Marshall. Down the throw.
A lot of calling going on down there. The backup quarterback, the coach, they have 3 or 4 guys giving a signal. Because usually when you play a team in your division, they also have films of the game, but they've also videotaped your signal calling.
There you go. Now, I know the Patriots were videotaping the signals from points where they were not allowed to be videotaping people. But does that even matter? And I've got on the phone line Mike Holmgren, who was a rookie head coach for the Green Bay Packers back in 1992, where he would eventually win a Super Bowl and appear in 2. Joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show again. Coach, thanks for calling in. I appreciate it.
Sure, Rich. Good to talk with you.
You bet. So how prevalent is this practice of videotaping other people's signals, Coach?
You know what? I wasn't ever aware that it was that prevalent. I knew what you were aware of is that they try like crazy to get the signals. And so you have people looking. We had them. You know, you have guys on the sidelines watching if the defensive coordinator is signaling in the defenses. You try and get a handle on that. And there were times when all of a sudden my backup quarterbacks would come over to me and say, I think I got it. You know, I think I got it. But then, you know, the teams change at halftime and do those types of things. So while I kind of filed it away a little bit, you were trying really hard. But as far as filming it, Rich, that never crossed my mind too much. To be honest, I was not aware of that until all of a sudden we had that, dust up with New England and the Jets.
So in terms of videotaping, right? That was when you said you weren't aware. Did it never cross your mind to do it yourself, or you never crossed your mind that other people might have been doing it to you while you were out there?
I didn't think about doing that. That wasn't in my. I had my hands full just trying to call the right play. But,
sure.
No, we didn't do it. I know that, and I wasn't thinking much about other people doing it. Because I would say, okay, let's just say they do it. I mean, it would come up in conversation, but let's just say a team would do that. Big deal. You change your signals or have 3 dummy signals on the sidelines, or you change it up. So even if they did do it, there wouldn't be much of a benefit, particularly if you thought they might, and you were going to change things.
I have Mike Holmgren here on the Rich Eisen Show. So to what level does this arise? Is this alarming? Is this beyond alarming? Is it not that big of a deal? How do you term this whole videotaping of signals, something that we all thought was put to rest at least 9 years ago? Where do you place this?
Well, Coach? I think I place it under sportsmanship. There are rules in place. We spent the last year of our lives talking about soft footballs, and so there are rules in place in the league dealing with the electronics certainly, and dealing with different things, and just play by the rules. And I think that's what that's what irritates me the most, is that and I'm not holier than thou, but I always try to do it that way. And a handshake's a handshake, and you play by the rules. I remember being in a meeting once, and Tom Landry got up and said, listen, can't we have a gentleman's agreement in this room that we're not going to do this? And while people kind of nodded, there were also people that snickered. What do you mean a gentleman's agreement? Now here's a very, very upright guy who thought it could be handled that way, and clearly it hasn't been able to.
Well, what was he referring to? Do you recall?
You know what? I don't remember. I don't remember the instance. I'm trying to remember, but no. But that's kind of a story that's gone down through the ages, and a lot of people remember that.
Well, this article that put the Spygate back in the glaring spotlight on ESPN yesterday started with a recounting of the owners and coach only meeting back in 2006 and 7, where Bob Kraft made an apology to the room and Belichick got up and talked. Were you in the room at that time as a coach of the Seahawks?
Yeah.
So what were your recollections of that?
Well, it's just that, I consider both those men, Bob Kraft, when I was the pseudo owner of the Browns for a while, I sat right next to him at the owners' meetings in those privileged sessions. So we became friends, I would say. And then also with Bill, I've known Bill forever. And Bill's a little cranky all the time, but I consider him a friend too. But I always thought that they pushed the envelope right to the limits. And in their own mind, I felt at times that they didn't think they were doing anything wrong. This is just, if you're going to be in this business, you're going to use everything to your advantage and do it that way. But there are rules. And so when those things came out, yeah, they did stand up and apologize. And then you kind of thought, because the penalties at the time, if you lose draft choices and get fined money and stuff like that, that's a big deal to me. I mean, and so I said, well, this is the end of this. And so, but clearly, I don't think it was in some instances. So,
but this article would essentially say, I'm on the phone with Mike Holmgren, former Seahawks coach and Packers coach, and also, as you said, pseudo owner of the Cleveland Browns here on the Rich Eisen Show. This article essentially says, trying to connect the dots between Deflategate and Spygate, that folks may not have shared your thought that what the penalty was handed down by the commissioner was enough to turn the page, that Deflategate was hammered by the league so hard is because, as one unnamed owner said in the piece, it was a makeup call. Would you agree with that sentiment?
You know
Coach?
what? There's a part of me that does agree with that. Yeah, because I believe this, and I might be in the minority. I know Roger very well, and he does a lot of great things for the league. He really does, and I think he is well liked by the owners. He's done a lot for the owners, but in this instance, I think that I wasn't there. I was no longer working, but I have to believe that there was a group of owners that said, okay, enough's enough. If in fact this happened, and we think it did, then we got to come down hard on this, because otherwise it doesn't seem to be, the message isn't getting there loud and clear. And so I think yeah, there's a chance that that article, that part of the article, was correct, and that one might be a reaction to the other.
Mike Holmgren joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Up in Seattle, your former place of business, there is a major holdout going on with Cam Chancellor. He is not in camp.
Not kidding. Wow.
So I'm wondering, what is Pete Carroll's challenge with Cam Chancellor being so revered in that locker room and fighting whatever fight he feels that he needs to do? You got now 4 days until you have to kick things off against the St. Louis Rams. I mean, this is serious business. What challenges does Pete Carroll have right now in that locker room, Coach?
You know what, Rich? I don't think. I think it's a pretty heady locker room, first of all, and the team leaders in that locker room have all been very, very well paid over the last 2 or 3 years. They've gotten big contracts for, Sherman and Thomas and the quarterback, and so they've done it that way. Cam, when he signed his contract, he was at the time, if you remember, I'm sure you talked about it on your show. Mm-hmm. It was a pretty big contract for a safety at the time, and people at that time said, well, this is over the top. I mean, they got to be careful with this and blah, blah, blah. Well, and I'm sure Cam felt good about the contract. And I think when you realize that he has 3 years left on the contract, the organization has to decide how they're going to handle that. And he is a really good player, and he's important to the football team. But I think you got to take a stand in it, and it seems like the club has. I think he's still going to come in. I would hope he comes in because he's really a good guy and a good player. But clearly he's upset about this, and he thinks he deserves more money.
Yeah, I know. And the players, apparently he's the godfather of the locker room based on a couple of articles.
I don't think it's going to affect them too much in the locker room. I really don't. This is a highly competitive group, and when they take the field, they take the field, and they're going to do the best they can do as individuals. Then off the field, they're hoping he comes in. I mean, he's a very popular guy, but I think they understand it. I really do.
Have you ever been in a situation where guys in the locker room are concerned about who's getting paid, and that creeps into your mission? I guess there's a mission creep that happens towards winning.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, the only time it really happened to me, we had a wide receiver named Darrell Jackson who was a really good player for us, and the organization. I wasn't doing contracts and stuff at the time. My role had been changed a little bit in Seattle, and he signed his contract. His agent wasn't in the building, and he actually honestly kind of took advantage of him, in my opinion. He signed some stuff he probably shouldn't have signed, and then they caught it afterwards, and he was really, he's a good guy, and he kind of upset by it, and he couldn't get over it, and I went in and actually pleaded his case to, hey, listen, we know what we did. I don't think it was right. Let's fix this up a little bit, and they wouldn't do it. They absolutely would not do it. They said I was naive, blah blah blah, this and that, and it affected him, and to the point where I lost. He still played, and he was still good, but I lost a really great player because he could not get over that. And the rest of the guys on the team kind of knew about it. I don't think it had an effect on them too much, but it certainly had an effect on him.
Do you want to make a prediction for who makes the Super Bowl this year, or you're out of the predicting business, Mike?
No, I'll be in the prediction business, but this is too early. Oh,
you
Rich,
sure? Come on
better.
now.
You know me better than that.
Well, I'll give you a mulligan.
I was with you when you pulled your hamstring. Remember that?
You were there on my 40 run where I pulled my hamstring.
Yes.
You were watching. That's right.
I know.
I forgot.
First of all, I couldn't believe it. First of all, that you'd even try. But I gave you points for that. But then, oh boy, it was like you were shot.
I got to tell you, you were integral in this whole 40-yard dash run that I was doing at the Combine, Coach, because I did it once or twice, and it made the air the first year, right?
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, do I do it again? And you were right there in the elevator in the old RCA Dome.
Yeah.
I said, okay, this is not Lucas Oil. We'll go back to RCA Dome. And I got on the elevator, and you were there, and you said to me, are you going to run the 40 again this year? And I said, you know what? Now I got to give the people what they want, and you were the people, essentially.
You mean you did that? Let me understand this.
Yes.
Because I still think you're feeling the effects of the injury. You did it because of what I said?
Well, I did it the first time just because I was bored.
Yeah.
And then you saw it when we aired it on NFL Network. The next year, I wasn't thinking of doing it again, or I was thinking maybe I should. And you were the person who convinced me I got to do it again because you asked me if I was
owe
gonna do it.
you a huge apology.
Coach, thanks for calling in. I appreciate it.
All right, man,
We'll chat
anytime.
soon. You got it. There's Mike Holmgren.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.